the point I'm trying to make, though, is, look, we don't have to wait for Barack to get elected president or, somebody to get elected to something or some new big dynamic leader to come from someplace else to help our communities right now. That is the main lesson of the Civil Rights Movement. There was stuff, people were sitting in lunch counters. They didn't even know Dr. King. Dr. King didn't even know they were there. A&T. They started sitting in. They wouldn't wait for Dr. King to show up and said, man, I'm tired of waiting for this too. Let's just go sit at this lunch counter. And you had little movements of people taking it upon themselves that sprouted and then like a ripple went all the way across the country. And then it didn't stop there. That's how come South Africa became free. They saw what we were doing and the ripple spread there too. And that was just individual people. Rosa Parks not giving up a bus seat. Launched the Civil Rights Movement. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that? So let's stop waiting for somebody to come along and make this happen for us. And Lord, please, don't wait for Washington to do it. Don't wait for Annapolis to do it. Don't even wait for Upper Marlboro to do it. Because government, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. We're throwing so much money in Iraq right now. That's billions of dollars, man. We can build new schools, new hospitals, new jobs programs. It's all going over there up in flames in Iraq. So don't count on it coming back. But we don't have to wait for it. If it comes, great. Let's keep pressing for it. But right now, there are lives on the line right now. We can't afford to wait. We need to get involved right now. Restore the focus on education. I talked a little bit about that. But we had one quick story about the little boy that came across the street to get me. All right, this is my education point. Jolene took him under her wing, right? Because I'm off at work. This is when she was a stay-at-home mom. And she's like, well, the boy's bright, but he's flunking everything, right? So she went out, she made a surprise visit to his school, right? I think he was 9th grade then. And she goes into the school and she's, I'm Jolene Ivey, I'm here to see, I won't use his name. And, again, it's before I was elected, so folks were like, Ivey, I don't know, you ain't related, whatever. And she told him the background. Mom is sick, dad's gone, so I'm trying to keep an eye on him. She said, well, he's in PE right now, going down to the gym. So she goes down to PE, to the gym, and she walks into the gym, and there are girls in their uniforms playing basketball, and all the boys are in the stands watching, right? So she looks at the teacher, and she goes, what's going on? And she said, well, the girls are doing the PE, but the boys are too cool to put on the gym uniform. So she said, well, what happens to them for a grade? She said, well, they all get zeros today. So Chris comes home, and I'm like, son, you're flunking PE? Are you really flunking PE during the basketball segment? I mean, come on. We go play ball down the street all the time. He's like, well, Mr. Ivey, I don't want to be, putting that stuff on. The boys will get on me and everything. So I'm sitting here looking like, okay, he's going to flunk physical education. Physical education. It ain't too hard. He doesn't need tutoring, right? It's not because he's poor. Think about the excuses we accept on the education front that we would never accept in athletics, right? Think about it. Think if a boy came off the field, he just dropped that touchdown pass. And he came over and said, Coach, I'm sorry, but, I come from a low-income family, My dad ain't at home, and, if my dad ain't at home, though, I would have caught that ball. Or I wouldn't have missed that layup. What would the coach would do? I can't even say what the coach would do, right? Those kinds of excuses are never acceptable in sports because we have the highest standard in sports. Same thing in entertainment. My son who did the Broadway stuff, they're like, I don't care if you're 11. This is it, man. This is Broadway. People paying $100 a ticket. You better be on every show. Now, they said it with their, Mr. Rogers' voice. But that's what they said. And guess what? He was on and the other kids were on every show. If we raise the standards on academics, I am convinced kids will reach those goals. I am convinced. So let's keep the focus on education. Restore the focus on community. I know I'm going long, so I apologize. Restore the focus on community. Remember the title of Dr. King's book was Community or Chaos. And this is that it takes a village thing. It also takes a congregation. It takes a fraternity. It takes a sorority. It takes a school, right? How many of y'all who are students right now, I'm not saying you should never party or any, have fun or whatever, but take a few extra hours to go do something a little positive in the community, especially if you're local, Don't just go back to your community for the party on Friday night, right? Go back and help out some other kids. Go back to your old high school. Do some tutoring. I mean, one of the things we're really struggling with is getting positive role models back in some of these environments. The fact that you're in college is mind-boggling for a lot of these kids who are really being told silently that you can't get there. They won't let us go. We don't have those opportunities. Put the lie to that. Just by being there, just by being here and doing well, you're putting the lie to that every day. Make sure everybody gets to see it. Not just your brothers and your colleagues here in school, but the folks back where you came from. You'll be amazed. And you know what? That, you got to be white to do good, and you're talking white, and you're acting white, and doing your homework is, blow that stuff out of the water, man. Blow that up. Because you know what? We defeat ourselves too often when it comes to academics. My son was writing a paper last night, and it was comparing Malcolm X to Russell Baker. Russell Baker was a writer for the New York Times. He didn't know that Malcolm X taught himself basically how to read while he was in prison, reading a dictionary with the light that came under the door in the middle of the night. Right? So I'm like sitting here thinking, well, that's right, son. So next time you think about complaining about, school environment, think about folks like Malcolm X and Frederick Douglass who educated themselves under circumstances. They would have died for circumstances like what we got right now. Okay? But Malcolm X became brilliant. Frederick Douglass became brilliant, educating themselves by candlelight and the light under the door of a prison cell. We can do it wherever we are. Let's stop telling ourselves that we can't. And then restore activism. Dr. King was about passive resistance, but also about direct action. Okay? So it wasn't like you go to church and we say these positive things, or you go to a lecture or a speech and you say these positive things and you go back to life. Direct action. Get involved in the... He flew to Memphis. He flew to Atlanta. He flew to where the problems were, and he got involved in those communities. We've got to do the same thing, too. So let me stop there. But look, let's make sure Dr. King doesn't become some kind of historical dinosaur figure that we, kind of come and sing about once a year, and then forget the meaning of what he was about, which is that we need to be doing something in our communities with people each and every day of our lives. Each of us can make a difference, and every one of us has to try. Thank you, God bless, and let's get to work. Have a great one.